this is the MVP, the showstopper, the final, ultimate session of the evening. It's all culminating into this massive fireside chat. But in the Business Today multiverse, we like to do things differently. On air, on stands, and of course on web. And in these events as well. So I thought, let's not stick to my script. Now, sometimes I have a script, sometimes I don't. So we thought we'll just wing this one. And I was told that the title for this one is Funding the $5 Trillion Dream. That's all I know. But I do know that in this session, there'll be a little bit of cricket. There'll be something about marathons and Amitabh Bachchan. Can you imagine all of this in one session? Sourav Majumdar, editor Business Today, could you join me on stage and tell me what is the funda really? With all of this, there's going to be marathon, cricket and Amitabh Bachchan in one session.
All rolled into one guy who, when you see him, you know why. Because this guy has actually, he embodies the new India, the new resurgent India, which he has taken the entrepreneurial plunge. He has created a fantastic institution, which I'm happy to say is one of the key, movers and shakers in the market. I present to you none other than the MD and CEO of IDFC First Bank, V Vaidyanathan. Welcome. So Vaidya, thank you very much for coming, and we couldn't find a more appropriate person to do this as the last fireside here for wealth creators than yourself, because you really have sort of embodied not only the topic of this discussion, which is funding the 5 trillion dream, India's 5 trillion dream and beyond, but also created wealth in the process. As a wealth creator, you have more than 65% in our rankings. You have 65% growth in average market cap. That's just in 1 year, and it continues. The fantastic run continues. So I wanted to start off, and your story is so interesting. We will touch upon parts of that during the course of this discussion. But let's start off by saying, you as a career banker, and having then taken the entrepreneurship plunge and created this wonderful institution, also a merger. Tell us I wanted to get a sense of the then and the now from you. To start off this discussion, tell us about the economy then, when you were a banker and you were, starting off, and what the changes you see as an entrepreneur banker right now, and what are the pluses which are actually powering this dream?
Thank you. First of all, good evening, everybody, and thank you for inviting me. See, actually, if you go back a little back in time, if you see the bad, let me say, the villains of Indian movies, right, in 90s, 80s, etc., Pran, Prem Chopra, Danny, they were all businessmen. So businessmen were those material. Now, businessmen, nobody portrays business people as, So now, business people entrepreneurship is accepted. Entrepreneurship is seen as a source of employment creation, as the way the government speaks these days, ease of doing business and all that. And entrepreneurship is the people recognize that they pay tax and they grow the economy. And so this massive shift of the lens with which we see entrepreneurship in a positive way, I think is the biggest change that has happened in the last few years.
And profit no longer is a bad word. Earlier, you used to, like you said, frown upon people who are making money. Today, it's an aspirational India, and it is something which everybody, every young Indian, even outside of the main metros, is looking forward to becoming.
That's absolutely correct. And profit is not a bad word. And institutions are getting created. You see, good quality, global scale corporations are getting created, which is a very, very big thing. Because India was a bunch of small scale industries, no company had a market cap more than 1,000, 2,000 crores, maybe 20, 30 years ago. Suddenly now we have market cap of 3 lakh crore, 5 lakh crore, 6 lakh crore, 10 lakh crore. And corporates are, governance is becoming a really big deal. Quality of people, number of people who are creating wealth. You talked about, our bank creating wealth in the last 1 year. Thank you for that. But it's still just a journey. The number of people who are participating in the process of getting wealth in form of stock options, etc., that has dramatically changed. Where was that even 10, 15, 20 years ago? I think lots of, you talked about creating a good institution, but really so many people are involved in creating it. I really mean it. So all these things are dramatically changed in India. Governance, quality of leadership, quality of infrastructure, all of these things are dramatically adding value.
Let's talk about some of the engines of growth, Vaidya. Earlier, I mean the then part of the story, infrastructure after some experiments became a sector which people used to literally run away from. And banks used to have burnt their fingers badly on infrastructure. Institutions have failed because of that. Infrastructure finance was a bad word. Today, we have a completely different setup, where infrastructure is being created at a rapid pace and banks and institutions are actually, rushing to fund it. How do you see this change playing out?
It's a great question, by the way. Even our bank really was set up to finance infrastructure. It is called IDFC, Infrastructure Finance Development Corporation. And it just so happened that that window of India, somewhere about, let me say, the late 2000s going up to 15, 16, 17, maybe 14, 15, there was a period when people would never be clear about, once an infrastructure is funded, whether they will get land clearance, whether they will get environment clearance, and things would get stuck. So one big difference, since you asked for the difference, is that most project financing that's happening now is happening after getting these clearances. So therefore your projects don't get stuck, or that's the belief. The second big difference is that when institutions are financing it, they are financing it after, many of them are getting financed after project is completed. So as a bank, our bank, for example, we are not very much in infrastructure financing. We burnt our fingers very badly, so we're coming out of it. But as in India, I believe infrastructure financing is very important, and I think I'm beginning to see institutions doing it.
Not just about your bank, but as a general observation, Vaidya, your former boss, Mr. Kamath, he is heading NABFID, right, which is into infrastructure. Do you think banks will be more and more, banks and are we heading towards the, in some form, the era of development financial institutions, again in the form of NABFID and others? And are banks going to partner with such institutions in the future?
I think really banks have realized one thing, that project financing, where equity risk is taken by the bank, is not the business model for a bank. Okay? Because project financing has its sort of uncertainties unless, like I said, land, environment, every clearance is taken. Because we are dealing with public deposits, it's not my personal money.
Correct.
So we cannot put public deposits on the line for a business where your repayment is not certain. But what is the big difference now, Sourav? The big difference is that, one, like I said, many projects are getting done after, for example, the road is already laid, toll is already coming. So there is no problem financing that project because the cash flow is already throwing up, coming up. That's one difference, cash flow. Secondly, you are finding in India, large international players wanting to take a part of the India pie. I've heard of KKR, Cube, many of these guys are coming and they're wanting to take a big part of the play. So because of the narrative, rightly so, we have created about India, the 100 lakh crore investment is coming up in infrastructure in the next few years in the country. So because of that, there is a positivity about India, there's a positivity about governance, there's a positivity about completion of projects, and therefore international money is coming to India, which is a very big change.
That's a very good point you make, Vaidya. Do you think it's somewhat related, the question I'm going to ask you, do you think this international,
attention,
interest into India is also going to spill over in some form to asset monetization? Because that's also one area where the government is keen to do.
It's happening already, you see. With or without international, you see how roads are getting built. NHAI, they're completing the project, very professional. We have some residual projects that are being still completed by us, we have, and they'll also wind down in due course. But we are seeing it, they're very professional, if they don't complete a project on time, they will acquire it back, they will finish it for you, and then lenders will get their share. I think it's massively moving.
I think this whole business of hard stops, clear decision making, I think that's what is one of the clear
It's a big deal. One is the governance. Plus, see our minister, Mr. Gadkari. I don't know. There are not a single soul I've met in my life who's not inspired by him.
True.
Not a single soul. Man, can you imagine somebody putting up 56,000 kilometers of roads in 8 or 9 years? What India has put in maybe close to 75 years?
That's true. Let's come to the other engine of growth, which is being talked about a lot, particularly in the context of the recently concluded G20 meetings in India, Vaidya. That is the digital public infrastructure. India's DPI, earlier, which used to be called the India Stack, is now the toast of the world. And we've been writing about it at length in Business Today, various parts of it. And it grows. It keeps growing. And Nandan Nilekani is somebody who's also at the forefront of many of these initiatives. How do you think that is also powering? And because you're a very digital savvy bank yourself, how do you think that is powering India?
So we are using this infrastructure extensively day in and day out. In fact, a large part of a bank is built on the new digital infrastructure. So let me just, for the context of the team, because the word Digital India has gone around so many, so I'll just frame it for you as to what it is constitutes of from a lender's point of view.
Yeah.
You see, for example, earlier, not long ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, if you had to take a loan, what would you do? You will go to a bank, the bank manager probably appraise you, appraisal process, probably income tax returns, they'll take a signature from you, they'll appraise it, probably loan will come back after maybe, 8 days, 10 days, 20 days. Now, on talking of infrastructure, let me say KYC is digital. After KYC, let me say the agreement with the customer is digital, e-agreement. Mandate, by giving a debit instruction mandate to your bank account, that was PDC earlier, now it is digital. Then after the loan is booked, monitoring was physical, now monitoring is digital. For collections, if you remember, someone used to come to your place for collecting or somebody used to call you. Now, you send a UPI link. Agent is not going to customer's home. You send a link and the customer pays you on a link, UPI link. So every part of the process has now become digital. And even if you're doing a verification of a customer at home, somebody would come to the customer space earlier. Now you can geotag the employee you visited, and you can geotag the fact that they indeed visited the premises, so controls have become better. So that is one ecosystem. Then when you click with the government point of view, Aadhaar is a massive, biometric. The fact that everybody in India has, identity itself is becoming a big deal. Yeah. Then DigiLocker is a big part of the digital India infrastructure. The broadband, connectivity to 550,000 panchayats, etc., or of the, villages, etc., that's a very big achievement, BharatNet. So this whole ecosystem coming together and government getting involved, this is a key point. Government getting involved in making a digital infrastructure is a key point. RBI getting involved in innovation is a key point. It is not key, chalo, government stays out of business, tum kar lo. Aisa nahi hai. Government is actively creating all of these things. I feel that's a very big deal.
And also on top of that, you have the entire startup ecosystem using DPI extensively. All of this.
Can you imagine a startup ecosystem, 100,000 startups, DPIIT approved. And by the way, I saw the process by which they approve it. I went to the website and talked to some people. It's pretty elaborate. You can't just walk up and call yourself a startup. There's a process to it. So 100,000 startups, 1 million jobs. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, something like about, huge, I don't recollect the number offhand, but huge amount of dollars coming to India because of that, the startup. So basically, this is a massive thing.
Let's come to the other engine of growth, Vaidya, the MSME sector. And, we have talked about MSME being an engine of growth, how so many of the MSMEs are, can actually potentially power the 5 trillion dream. However, MSMEs also face a lot of challenges, particularly post-COVID. Several of them have shut down. There is a problem of, financing, access to finance, corporate governance, and all of that. How does a bank like yours view that?
See, first of all, we all have to recognize, and I'm sure everyone in the room will agree, that MSMEs have a very hard life. very hard life.
Yeah.
It's not this life,
Yeah.
right? So if you're a plumber or not plumber, if you're a welder, or even if you're making jewels, the sprinkling of the sparks coming at you, difficult working environment. If you're a small trader sitting in a shop and waiting all day for getting customers and usually non-air conditioned, it's a difficult life. So to top up this difficult life, they also had, difficulty availing finance. So you're mentally stressed, physically stressed. I don't know what bigger stress is than this. So we haven't been able to solve this issue of the physical difficulties, etc. But at least now financing has become digital, and I think that's a massive growth. For example, our bank has been heavily focusing on this. We finance typically small entrepreneurs of various sizes. Let me call it between 100,000 to maybe 1 or 2 crore rupees. And it's a big space for us.
And more banks, as they sort of get into this segment more and more, do you see that actually these problems being overcome they're becoming better?
See, it's already overcoming because like I said, now to give an idea, for example, you can see the cash flow. You don't need to only give income tax return, and you can give instant financing. All that is well known through the digital architecture. I won't expand on that. You probably know that, but our bank, for example, we focusing heavily on 3 things. What is well known as RAM: retail, agri, and MSME. To give you an idea, this company started in 2010. The loan book was under 100 crore rupees, retail. Then on NBFC platform, it grew to about 35,000 crores. 35,000 crore loan book in those 8 years. Now it has become 1,40,000 crores. So 100 crores to 1,40,000 crores in about 13 years. So we love this business. It's not, you can see it's a one-way path. We believe for the next 8, 10, 15, 20 years, assuming my successor continue with those theories, we will continue to build the book.
You spoke about retail, Vaidya. Retail is being seen as one of the key engines which can actually part of the services sector, which is very important in India's growth story. But retail also comes with risks. In the sense that, you have these also the fintechs coming in, buy now, pay later, unsecured loans, all of that. How do you see the retail story vis-a-vis the risks?
See, first of all, when we're lending business, particularly in retail, frankly, whether retail or corporate or infra, whatever, we have to be very, very, very conscious of risk. Because risk is there. Who can deny that? Okay, we have to be very conscious of risk. At least in our bank, we have a 10-step underwriting process, which includes the go, no-go criteria, scorecards, physical verification where ticket size is more, cash flow evaluation, identity checks, fraud checks, many of them. But frankly, every bank is doing that, but we are doing focus. Our experience in this business for like 13 years now, our gross NPA has always been 2% and net NPA has always been 1%. Off late, it is 1.5% and net is 0.5.
And how do you achieve that? What is the secret sauce?
It's not a secret sauce. Actually, we have to stay in the cutting edge of technology and respect controls. Because in this country, getting business is no problem. I mean, for us, we have, India demand. We all talk about India and people who... There is a lot of demand. You don't have to chase credit. A lot of demand. We have to, in fact, exercise discipline that I don't want so much credit. And we reject unfortunately, we reject 40 to 60% of the loans coming to us. 40 to 60%. So, discipline.
What about agri? You spoke about agri being one of the 3 areas where you concentrate as a bank. How has been your experience on the agri front?
Agri is phenomenal. I find it rather tragic to see that when we go to the rural market these days, and it's been 75 years of India's independence, even now we find it is completely unfunded. So unfunded, I can't tell you. The other day I went to a village called Gayazabad, and we met about 70 villagers. And most of them were taking money from us for buying a buffalo or buying a goat or buying a cow. Then we went to another village where they were financing, where we were financing another, category of products as specific to that village. You will not believe the typical ticket size loans are 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees. The economics of a cow or buffalo typically comes back in about 7 or 8 months. They get the full money back, and after that, whatever the cow produces milk is for free. And our collection percentage is 99.7% in that portfolio. Gross NPA is 1.2%, net NPA is 0.3%. So that is a kind of, we just feel that.
So delinquencies are very low.
Very low, and they all, I don't use the word God-fearing. They are, by the way, because I'm not saying fearing God is a good thing or a bad thing. But I can only say that they are so sensitive. For them to getting formal credit from our bank is so much better than taking informal credit from somewhere else at whatever percentage we know the numbers, maybe 100, 150%. So they really respect it. So I really feel that the more you can do financing in rural India, we are also changing lives. For example, we're doing water financing. We're doing toilet financing. It's fantastic repayments.
No problems on that front at all.
Yeah, we financed 328,000 toilets. So we are financing the, I don't know, you'll find it hard to believe that we finance the hand pump, we finance the pipe that takes the water to the septic tank, we finance the septic tank, we finance after the water comes to the customer's home, we finance the water purifier, and then we finance the, then people want the toilet. So the whole thing kit cost about 40,000 rupees. We are financing 50,000 rupee loans. We have given 3,28,000 loans, 1,200 crores, gross NPA of 1.3%, net NPA of 0.3%.
In that sector.
In that
segment.
Water. So I'm just saying, you have talked about rural. I think, this is really, India is changing, and all I can say is that, we've given 30 million such loans. Not water, I mean all of these segments put together. So all I can say is that we are practicing it. I'm not giving some general gyan. We're practicing and behaving really well. So I don't know, as the big thing that we're seeing in India is moving from this offline to online. And you can't imagine the power of moving a country from offline to online. And good thing is government is pushing it. They're making it happen.
The other point, let us come a little bit, from look at it from a bird's eye view, Vaidya, of the financial sector as a whole. Now you have, yours has been a bank which is now merged and it's a different entity from how you started off. There are also new NBFCs which have come up from storied business houses. For instance, Poonawalla FinCorp, there is Godrej, there are other companies, Piramals, all of them. And then there is, of course, the Bajaj Finances of the world. How do you see this whole competitive, environment at a time when the regulatory arbitrage is more and more and more, becoming narrow?
I got it. I'll tell you what, the key thing is this, that as of now, the demand is more than what the banking system can supply credit. Let me tell you, this is a fundamental point. For example, in our bank, we want to grow not more than 24-25%. Demand is coming like 35-40%. We have to say no, unfortunately, even to good business. So now we are saying, okay, how to restrict ourselves? Because at the end of the day, capital is limited. Regulator is conveying the message from time to time for the system to calm down. And we heed those and we respect that. So we are slowing down our bank. Okay, slowing down meaning we want to stay within the radar of what is acceptable credit growth. Because anyway, all credit is good, but we can't keep on, putting out more credit all the time. So therefore, demand is so much. So I feel that actually it's good for India that more players come, including the names you talked about. I really wish more come. I really wish there are more banks in the country, because we should not get greedy. Okay, our bank is a bank. अब चलो और कोई नहीं आएगा. बहुत बुरा. अच्छा है यार देश के लिए. और लोग आए, right? और banks खुले. How will India become 5 trillion? How will become India 10 trillion? How will become India? Same 20 banks cannot make it. तो अच्छा
So
है.
you hope that more and more.
I hope, I wish.
Do you see corporates coming into banking at the
I
end
can't
of
comment on that. It's a, it's a complicated thing because there are more angles to it, and you know those angles. But generally speaking, I feel that India, trust me, India needs more banks. India needs more NBFCs. India needs more foreign capital because we should not forget that boss, अपना per capita income is still very low.
Yes.
So, when we become, I'm raring for the day to become 10 trillion, 15 trillion. Dekho, by 2030, you'll be $7 trillion economy.
Yes.
So who will finance it? So
I
believe that current model is good, but more is better.
We've run out of time, Vaidya, but I want you to tell us, sort of as closing comments, we spoke of what was then, what is now. The government of the day has sort of cleared a lot of the cobwebs of the past. Regulations are now stricter, stronger, and more focused. What are the one or two things you want further to see over the next few years, which will ease up the system further?
It's not system. Basically, see reforms. One thing is there that when government did, say, GST, people thought it is only GST, okay, your goods and services tax is great. Okay, of course it's great and very tough for the government to pull it off. Remember how many objections and this, that, etc. Upper house of parliament, lower house of parliament, states, very difficult thing. Government pulled it off. So that's saved a lot. But the benefit is in terms of how the roads are working and there are no, tolls on the road, etc. So what I'm trying to say is that reforms we should continue to do. So GST was one big thing. IBs is a big thing because now promoters can no longer start businesses and, not pay a bank, right? They will have to pay because finally, you know what happened to many of those companies. So the good thing that India has done is that on the corporate side, it has brought a lot of controls now. I don't believe that what happened in 2000s, etc., at least in the near future or middle future, I don't see it happening again. Because people become conscious. I talk to all my peer banks. Everybody's become conscious. Nobody wants to give. We have spoken to many of them, both state-owned and private sector. Nobody wants to dish out money like this, to take this money, okay. That culture is not there anymore, as of now. I hope it stays this way. Now on the retail side, again, a lot of guardrails have come. Bureau has come. Bureau has 600 million records. Cash flow controls have come. You can see directly from... So basically, both retail and wholesale controls have come. It's a good thing. Risks. You haven't talked about risks, but I think two risks are very important. One is retail and wholesale lending risk, we should be very careful. But the big risks that we should be very careful about is cyber. Because there, it is unknown. Nobody can say they're a master. Even we can't. Kya pata what is going on behind the background, right? So we have to keep on controlling more and more layers and layers and layers of security by the latest technology, latest security controls, best people, best talent, invest in cyber. Number two is operational risk.
Right.
It's not credit risk. So we have to be careful. But operational risk can become, tumse galti ho gaya, system mein glitch ho gaya, tum controls, velocity control. So these are two controls that come to mind.
So, one of the smartest banker entrepreneurs in the business.
No. Don't say those things. I don't agree with all that, but thank you for that.
A very, very clear and crystal clear view of India's growth story and what the future holds. Thank you very much, Vaidya. Really happy to have you with us this evening.
I want to leave one comment to the audience. Thank you, friends. One comment to the audience, that there used to be the American dream. Abhi tum dekhna abhi Indian dream aayega. Okay, and therefore all the foreigners, हम लोग कहते थे यार इंडिया जाएंगे, अमेरिका जाएंगे, अभी तुम देखा, the great American dream will come 2030, 2040 के विंडो में आएगा, और तुम सब जो हमारे नीस, नेफ्यू जो अमेरिका में रहते हैं, मैं सबको कहता हूँ इंडिया वापस आ जा, तुम्हारी जिंदगी के लिए अच्छा है, this is a better place to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
on
thank
this
you, everybody.
note,
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Vaidyanathan and Sourav, for that lovely session. Can I please invite on stage, ladies and gentlemen, our Chief Operating Officer at the Business Today Multiverse, Alok Nair, to express a token of our gratitude to Mr. Vaidyanathan. Mr. Vaidyanathan, we were still waiting for fitness mantras from you at this one. Sourav, you're going to reveal the secret sauce. Is the man himself. A huge round of applause, please, for the absolute ultimate showstopper of our evening at the BT 500 Wealth Creators Summit. I'd like to thank our sponsors, mutual fund partner SBI Mutual Funds, infrastructure partner Sidco, conglomerate partner Darwin. And I'd like to thank you for being such a lovely audience. A huge round of applause for yourselves. And thank you. I'm your host Ayush Alavadi saying, I'll see you next time.